Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dropping Down from the Rafters podcast here on Toned In Entertainment. Today, joining me here on the channel is the star assassin, Morgan Dash. How you doing, Morgan?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. It was actually about 4 weeks ago, about a month ago. I was up at Firestar Pro Wrestling. I was up there for Sting's retirement match that weekend. I was looking for a local show to check out. I had got suggested by a couple of guys to check out Firestar Pro Wrestling. Blade Brown was supposed to be on the show, who I've had here on the channel. Well, I went into it really not knowing much about Firestar Pro Wrestling and the wrestlers that are there. But man, in like the 2.5 to 3 hours, I learned a lot about not only Firestar Pro Wrestling, but about you as well, Morgan Dash. You made a heck of an impression on pretty much everybody that was there that night.
Yeah, Firestar is a really great place to go watch some good quality wrestling, in my opinion. Um, Glad I was able to give y'all a good first impression.
Definitely. I mean, not only did you give us a great impression, but you also took home a championship that night as well.
Yes, sir. Hold on. Where's she at? I got her right here next to me.
Okay, you guys get to take the titles home.
Yes, sir. Right here.
Oh, okay. So what title is that you have?
That is the Firestar Pro Wrestling Southeastern Championship.
Okay, so would that be like the equivalent to like let's say the WWE Intercontinental title or the AEW TNT Championship?
Yes, something similar to that, I feel like.
Okay. So you're kind of like on that stepping stone for that heavyweight championship title now after this.
Yep, I guess so.
Now, going into that night, I mean, the match was spectacular, man. I was there with my wife. I had brought a friend of mine from work who was up there with me. He had never been to an indie show ever in his life. And,
Wow.
that whole night we were like, damn, okay, not only is the show good, but Morgan, man, we got to get into this. Like, when did your pro wrestling journey begin? What brought you to this day? Oh, there
Oops.
we go. He is
My bad.
everything. There's
Phone stuff.
nothing off the table here. Anything can
Yeah.
happen.
So my journey started in 2020. Um, Summer of 2020, I went to Firestar and I started training there. And let's see. Yeah, I trained for like a good 2 years. Then I graduated from there. Had my first match in 2021. And then I started traveling around more and hitting some states and stuff, leading up to that title win and stuff like that. So,
Is that your first championship victory?
at Firestar, yeah,
Oh, Firestar. Okay.
yeah, I've had one title from Tennessee, um, and a few at a promotion that my nephew runs called BWA Wrestling in Eden, North Carolina. So, but by far, Southeastern title was my biggest. So, yeah,
I was watching the highlights over again this week, just preparing for our interview, and let's talk about some of the. Okay, one, it looks like you're floating in the air when you're running across the ring and like hitting your opponent with like a drop kick in the corner. Like, do you feel like time is suspended when you're up in the air? It looks like it from the video.
man, sometimes it feels like slow motion. Like, so yeah, it feels like I am floating sometimes. It The adrenaline just keeps you moving.
Let me get to this comment. Cherry Bombs was there at the show that night. She says, "You're amazing, Morgan. You became my new favorite wrestler." She was at
Thank you,
Firestar Pro
thank you,
Wrestling. We were
thank you.
cheering, and that's what I love about going to independent shows is that you can go in and not really know much about what's going on, but if you
Yeah,
guys and gals do a good job, you can make long-lasting fans out of the people that
yeah,
attend these shows.
that is true. Absolutely.
Now, you said it began in 2020. So you're
Yes.
kind of going to school kind of like when the pandemic is setting in. So what were some of the difficulties in training during that time?
Um, if I'm not mistaken, we were training just close to every day, maybe. I feel like it was a lot of training back when I started, and um, I was also playing football, so that in school I just couldn't do it. So I chose wrestling overall, and I quit going to public school and switched to homeschooling, and I quit football and just started pursuing wrestling.
Okay, so what does your family say to this when you say you're going to quit school, you're not going to do any of the other sports, and you want professional wrestling to be your career?
Well, um, at first they were just like, as long as you're gonna stick with it, then that's fine, because they knew ever since I was a kid that that's something that me and my nephews were interested in, and that I would probably eventually want to do it because I'd moved away from it for a while, and then I rediscovered it because of indie wrestling in 2020. I discovered a Will Ospreay match, and from that moment on, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so yeah, ever since then, that's what I've been trying to pursue.
Well, it's kind of crazy that, and it's me the same way as I was a long life wrestling fan who stopped watching for such a long time. And
Yep.
I've told many people this is it was actually going to an independent show that actually brought me back into wrestling and now doing podcasting and going to all this. I go to more indie shows than I watch, the mainstream. Let's be honest. Like I just like really enjoy watching you guys and gals work your way up to the next level. And then from there, I tend to always watch the people who I've interviewed on their journey to the next level. So it's really cool to hear that indie wrestling got you interested in becoming a wrestler.
Yeah. I was just like you. I used to sit around and watch WWE and stuff with my nephews. Um, and like I was hooked on Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio, and I knew a little bit about TNA or Impact, whatever you want to call it. Um, and I was a fan of AJ. And then once we stopped doing our backyard wrestling, I kind of just stopped watching it as a whole. And then, like I said, in 2020, I saw that one Indies match with Osprey in it, and from that moment on, I was like, wow, that like it was breathtaking for me, honestly. So
I
it was
have
like a whole new world.
I have a feeling that Will Osprey can inspire a lot of people to become a professional
Definitely,
wrestler.
definitely. Oh yeah,
Were you at the arena that night for AEW by any chance?
yes, I
Okay, so
was.
you were in the crowd. We were in the crowd that night. Okay, Will Osprey versus Takeshita, right? Like, I mean, are there words for that match?
Insane. It. I couldn't believe I was like there at that moment. I was like, Jesus, man, this that match was, in my opinion, that was like a 10-star match. Screw 5 stars. You got 10. So
Did we ever find out what Meltzer rated that match by any chance? I have not seen. I mean, I don't
I
really
don't know.
pay
I
too
don't
much
pay attention
attention,
to him.
right? Okay, we
Yeah,
don't pay
I don't pay
attention.
attention.
It's just one person's opinion, like anything else on ratings.
Exactly.
But in our opinion, that was like a 10-star match over a 5-star match.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I loved about it was like how in the crowd, how into it the crowd was that evening.
Right.
That
Right.
like it was just man, it was just what I'm thinking about now. I'm getting excited. Just I need to go back and rewatch that match as somebody who's in the crowd and just hearing the like you hear this is awesome chants a lot, but sometimes
Yeah.
stuff is it's good. But man, that match was like you said, it was a 10-star match throughout.
It was.
Now you mentioned backyard wrestling, so can you give us a little bit of insight into, maybe your backyard wrestling time?
Yeah. So we were doing this around like 2013, 14, up until 16. So like a good 3, 4, maybe 5 years of it. Um, but I was around like 7 or so when we started, and we did up until I was 11-ish, something like that. Um, that backyard promotion is the one that my nephew runs now. That's now a professional promotion. Because when I started training, I convinced them. I was like, "Look, let's take this backyard place that we used to run and make it an actual professional wrestling promotion. And it's come a pretty long way from wrestling in our legitimate backyard to renting a building to fill up crowds and stuff there every month. It's it's been really nice to watch the progress unfold, really.
So how old were you when you were pitching him this idea
Um, I
about?
started training at 14, so I was 14.
So at 14, not only do you have the inkling to become a professional wrestler, but it seems like you've got like some business side to you as well too.
Yes, I typically act as like kind of his co-booker. Like I'll reach out to people for him, or so. Okay, example. He before Jay Malachi got signed, Javon Evans. He was like, "Will you reach out to him and see if he'll come wrestle for us?" And so, like, that's kind of what I do. I don't run anything by any means, but I'm definitely there for him to help out.
How much fun do you have enjoy booking matches?
It's fun. I like reaching out to the people that he wants, um, especially the bigger names that we're trying to get. Um, like one on the table right now is Andrew Everett. Um, we're just trying to get a confirmed date for that. Um, yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
What are some of the challenges that you have with that?
Uh, Probably sometimes they're rate or
Okay.
either like travels if it includes travels. So I'd say that's probably the only issue.
So you have a good understanding of like even budgeting how these shows budget because I always look at it, from a fan standpoint when I go and I'm like, wow, they flew this person in, they're staying for a hotel, a lot of people want this and that, and in
It's
order just to come
expensive.
to the show, right? It adds up, right?
Mhm. It
So when
does.
people are getting $20 tickets, I feel like we're getting like a really good deal.
Yeah, definitely. The higher the ticket prices, like if you can fill more seats, then you're gonna make more off the door to pay out to your wrestlers. So really promoting is a big like thing in making your money from running a promotion. If you don't promote right, you're not gonna have seats filled. You're gonna lose money in the long run. So
Let me ask you about when you're in the ring. I saw you kind of do flips and you kind of bring out like the bow and arrow or the
yeah.
archery. Can you give us a little insight into that?
Um. Well, whenever I was trying to, I guess, kind of find who I was, what my character was, I didn't really know anything to start, and then I just kind of pieced together my real personality to how I want to portray myself in wrestling, and being the star assassin, that kind of just came along with it. So,
You said that you kind of blend the two, but what would you say the biggest difference is between the star assassin we get to see in the ring and Morgan Dash outside of the ring?
definitely my confidence, probably. Yeah. Wrestling has helped me like grow as a person, I would say. I used to have extremely bad stage fright, and going through these 4 years of wrestling, it's like kind of pretty much cured that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get nervous before a match, but it's no big deal to go out there in front of a nice big crowd anymore. It almost feels natural now. So that would be the biggest difference.
Is there any secrets to shaking those pre-match jitters off?
No,
No.
it just doesn't happen.
Okay.
Unless it doesn't go away until you get out there and start doing your stuff. That like it's gonna stay.
It's like because we see all you guys and girls just like come in here, you're kicking ass, you're beating the crap out of people, right? So we think, you guys take a lot of bumps and bruises that us common people can't take, right? So we think of you guys and girls as maybe like a little bit of a superhero, right? I mean, it takes a lot to get
Yeah.
into the ring, but even then, behind the curtain, the 5-star assassin still has a little bit of those butterflies before you go out and perform.
Yeah, I pace back and forth, man. It's crazy sometimes. Like, especially right before the Southeastern title match. That one was that's probably the most nervous that I had been since my debut match back in 2021. So definitely,
So when you walk through the curtain, is just like everything gone at that point?
I kind of blank out into my character. Like you can hear the crowd, but it's almost like it fades, and you're just in your zone. And you're doing your thing, you're working your camera, you're tagging hands, you hop in the ring, do your little pose, and then you wait for your opponent to come out, and you're just watching him do it. You're kind of thinking in your head a little bit, trying to stay on track, stuff like that, trying to just stay ready, really.
What I really liked about going to that show is I love it when fans are vocal, when they're into the show, when they're like really having a good time, whether they're booing or cheering anybody. So how important of a role does crowd reaction play to you?
For me, it's a massive part because if I know a crowd's going to be dead, I probably won't even bother to do any of my normal nice flashy things because it's just not worth really in my opinion. But whenever I hear a crowd before my match and like it could be a shoulder tackle and then they flex and they pop real big for it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do all my stuff because I know they're gonna really enjoy it. They're gonna be amazed by it. So having a hot crowd is definitely important.
I think that's a very important lesson for any fans that are going to watch this interview is let's give
Please
the
be
wrestlers
active.
right? Let's
Yes,
give you guys and girls everything. Like we're there
yes,
to have fun, and yeah, nothing. I'm gonna say it's a pet peeve of mine when somebody is just there and they're like looking down at their phone, they're not paying attention to what's going on. Like,
yeah,
let's be into it. Let's make noise. Like I'm very vocal when I'm at the shows. I love being vocal, whether I even know who you guys or girls are. Sometimes the first show that I go to, I might not know. But my regular shows I go to, I'm very vocal. Just to have fun, to help you guys and girls, and I see that really translates into your guys and girls performance. So hopefully, any fans that are watching this, let's make some noise when we get to these shows. Let's have some
it
fun.
makes my job so much easier. Especially being a baby face, it makes it 10 times easier. Cause I mean, shoot, I'll hit a Hurricane Rana. You pop for it, I'll I'll taunt back at you, so you pop more. It makes it so easy, lovable.
Speaking of fans, I guessing this is a fan because it says Cody Fox says Morgan is the best wrestler I've seen in person, and I love how kind he is to all his fans. He also has two more on here. It
Thank you,
says
Cody.
the Southeastern title match was my favorite match I've ever seen. It was a damn good match. Let's be real. That was
Thank you.
for me, like man, that was match of the night for me. Of the night, great matches throughout the whole night. Like honestly, really
Absolutely.
great matches, right? From the battle
Yeah.
royal to the tag team main event, everything was like really good and a lot of fun. But yeah, you
Yeah.
guys definitely were the show stealers. Cody Fox also says, "I lose my voice at every show." Well, welcome to
Not
the club,
surprised.
Cody. That's when you know you've had a fun night of watching wrestling. Is when you wake up the
Oh
next
yeah.
morning and you can barely talk.
Yep.
And Cherry Bomb says, "Wrestling!" Exclamation mark.
Wrestling.
No, you've been doing this for a couple years, and I know you said the biggest difference is your confidence that it separates you between who you are inside and outside the ring. But what would you say are some of the maybe the biggest lessons that you've learned about yourself have been?
That I'm capable of more than I think that I am. Like doing the shooting star press about a couple years ago, I I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that move. And really the reason that I even wanted to was because of Evan Bourne or Matt Sydal. I saw him do it when I was a kid, thought it was the coolest thing ever, thought about doing it, and I was like, no, it's not happening. Then probably 2020, late 21, going into 2022, I had started trying to do it, and I ended up getting it, and that was kind of the moment that I realized I can do stuff if I just really set my mind to it and not let that mental block get to me.
So, what is the feeling when you nail that move for the first time in a wrestling match?
Floating through the air, it I don't know if you've ever been on a roller coaster, but that feeling you get when you go down a deep slope on a roller coaster, the first time I did it, whenever I was midair flipping, that's the feeling I got in my entire body. It was scary, but once I landed, I was like, "Let's go!" I was hyped about it. It was really cool.
I know that feeling. I tend to let out a few screams when I'm going down on that roller coaster. So
Yeah,
I'd
I
be the
still
wrong
get that
person.
feeling.
You still do? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I love doing it because it gives me that shot of adrenaline that I need. So,
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Like, as a fan, and I love going to indie shows, man. I have so much fun. Even when we went to Firestar that night, man, it's just you're pumped up. The adrenaline is running from fans, right? I'm a fan. I'm having a great time. So for me,
yeah.
sometimes I can't go to sleep at night. I can't like come down after a show because I'm having such a good time. How do you come down from a night of just having like a night like you did at Firestar Pro Wrestling that night when you won a championship? What's your secret to maybe bringing it back down, being able to get a good night's sleep?
Um, I come home and I shower and I dive into my bed. It's because I'm so exhausted after matches that I just, of course, I like to stay up and stuff, but I just kind of relax and maybe watch TV or something. Honestly, that's about it. Go home from wrestling, watch more wrestling till I get tired.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Now, I did see on your Instagram you have a picture with Matt Riddle on there,
Yes.
and he is coming down here in a couple weeks. He's actually going to be wrestling at the local promotion down here, so I'll get to see him in action that night. So, what's your like Matt Riddle story? Why was it important for you to? Was it like a meet and greet that you went to, or did you just kind of run
Um,
into him at a show?
it was at the show where he wrestled Jackson Drake at Elevation in Lexington. Uh, I saw the match posted for it, and I texted Jack. I was like, "Dude, you best believe I'm coming to see that." Like, I just straight up didn't go to a show that I was supposed to have just to go see my big brother wrestle Matt Riddle. Like, so, and me and my friend, we went up and got our pictures and stuff. So,
I feel like a lot of wrestlers always tell other like wrestlers that are like signed or have been signed or whatever that they're training to be wrestlers. So have you ever done that? And if so, like, have you gotten any good advice from that?
um, I don't think I've necessarily told anybody that I was training, but whenever I met Nick Wayne, I was wearing my Firestar hoodie, and he asked me if I trained there, and I talked to him a little bit about, that I had and I graduated, and I told him I planned on wrestling him one day, of course. So, but probably the biggest advice that I've gotten, I would say it's came from seminars. Um, but just not letting your ego get to your head. So
Nice.
staying
Okay.
humble.
Okay. Speaking of seminars, like that's how I came across AC Divine and Blade Brown. They were down here in Miami taking some seminars with EC3, and I met them when I was covering that event. Um, not only did I learn a lot about those guys, but I actually learned a lot from like a journalist perspective of what really goes into cutting promos and getting, I guess, feedback on like practice matches.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the seminars that you've attended, and what key things have you taken away from those?
My first seminar was with Dax Harwood. in 2021, and then I had a Swerve Strickland seminar, and most of these have been at Firestar except for one, but I'll get to that. So at the Swerve Strickland one, we worked. I would say probably more on heat. He gave me a lot of good feedback on doing better heat, and then I had Sean Dean, the AEW seminar. And for him, he was talking about my intensity level in the ring, keeping the same intensity, stuff like that. And then I had Bobby Fish with Apple City Championship Wrestling and Hidden Night. Trying to think. He gave me pretty good feedback with some technical stuff. Because I wanted to get better at technical wrestling, and Bobby Fish is that styled wrestler, so I was like, yeah, that's definitely one I want to go to. And then I went with a Mike Bailey seminar back at Firestar. That one, he was giving us um, stuff with comebacks, and that's how I kind of got my comeback down, where I do the little up and over, bat flip over him, duck, and hit that handspring enziguri to the drop kick in the corner. That's where I kind of got that kind of mentality of why I'm doing it that way and the order of stuff to do it. Then I had my second Sean Dean seminar, and trying to think if what feedback I got. They liked the little practice match that me and Manny Lowe put on together, so that was good. Stay tuned on that note. But um, as far as seminars, that's about all the feedback I've gotten.
Well, it seems like you've definitely attended a bunch of them, and it's kind of crazy
Yep.
when you think about, you know, the guys giving seminars. Like I always think of it as being like, guys have been around for 20, 30 years. But I like the fact that you're going to seminars with guys that are doing it now because I feel like maybe guys that did it 20 or 30 years may not be, I don't know, maybe not have their finger on the pulse of what's going in and what it's going to take to get to AEW or to WWE. Like obviously a Swerve Strickland or a Dax Harwood or the Captain Sean Dean, like those guys are there right now. They know what's going on. They know what it takes to get to that level. So I really like the fact that I know Samoa Joe is doing stuff as well too, and EC3, and the guys that are doing it now and doing it at a high level are really taking time to help the up and comers, even though they're still have a lot of gas left in their tank, but they're looking out for you guys coming up. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the reasons that I did not want to miss out on the Mike Bailey seminar, because he's on that upper indie level that I'm shooting for eventually, like GCW, promotions like that. So, and the knowledge I got from him was pretty good.
So like Game Changer Wrestling is one of those promotions that you're really looking at making an impact at.
Yeah, GCW, Progress in the UK, um, eventually maybe one day Pro and Noah, something like that. So
What is it about the Game Changer? Because I mean, Game Changer. I was actually trying to because I'm going to Philly Wednesday for the week, and I was trying to get to go to some Game Changer shows, but everything has been sold out for like weeks. Like like you can't get tickets to
exactly.
anything that Game Changer is doing. So what is it about Game Changer that makes that hot on your radar?
I don't. It's just the whole atmosphere and aesthetic to GCW in general. Like just everything about the promotion I like from the moment I first like seen it till now. I was like, yeah, I want to wrestle there one day. So
I'm sure you will. You're definitely on the right path. Let me bring in this comment from Cherry Bomb. She wants to know how does it feel like to to flight, to take flight, I guess.
Are we talking airplanes? Because I have no idea. Or are we talking high flying?
I think maybe high flying maneuvers.
Um, so back to what I was saying, like for the shooting star, it's like that big drop on a roller coaster. Um, doing the moonsault off the top, that's just like a literal leap of faith from Assassin's Creed, man. You take one big deep breath and you just do it. You can't really think about it because if you think about it, something's gonna go wrong. Because it's like if you know how to do it, all there is to do is do it. So it's definitely scary at times. Um, but for the most part, once you do it and you do it the first time, you're gonna be hyped about it. You're gonna be confident about it, and you're gonna do it over and over and over. So
Yeah, she did say fly. Yeah, it is fly. Okay, so that was her question there. But how does it feel to fight? Let's go. Let me ask you that question. How does it feel like just to beat somebody up and not get in trouble for it?
it's a very good outlet system. Very good.
What would your outlet system be if you didn't have professional wrestling? What do you think it would be?
Hmm. I I don't know. I've never really had anything other than wrestling.
Okay, well, fair enough. You have it. And why else? Why look for anything else, right?
Right.
Now, I do want to ask you a fun question, and since you brought up Bobby Fish, it kind of made me think of this because I did interview Bobby Fish a
Yeah.
couple months ago, and I asked him just about he's been in the business for such a long time, and I asked him about like weird things or bizarro things that have happened to him, and he said that a fan once asked him to like buy his undergarments. So have you come across?
Okay.
Yes, his used. Let me quote: used undergarments. They didn't want the new ones; they wanted the used ones. So, have you ever had any like fan interactions, weird fan interactions, or have you had just any weird situations happen inside of the ring that maybe
Um,
weren't planned or thought of?
yeah, definitely. I get a lot of comments on YouTube. I'm I'm gonna go there in just a second, but one time I had an email asking for my used ring gear, unwashed, and they wanted to buy it. And I was like, well, this is kind of the only set I got right now because it was when I was first starting, and I was like, yeah, no, no, not happening. But with the YouTube comments, they get a little weird sometimes. They're like 40-year-old men too, talking about me and Jackson Drake and our physique and stuff. It's disturbing. So, I just ignore the comments. But that's probably well, I've had some older women try me too, but I'm good. I think I'm
Good.
good. I'm good.
Rule number one: don't be creepy. Right? Don't,
Right. Rule number one: definitely don't be a creep, please. I will
please.
block you. I will.
Very, yeah, it's weird. The YouTube universe is the stuff that I get sometimes that I'll screenshot and I'll send my wife and I'm like, can you believe people are like like they're not getting approved, right? Because they get put through a filter usually and they get put into like the maybe flagged for spam or something. I'm like looking at the stuff in here. I'm like, whoa, what? No, like keep those thoughts to yourself. We don't need those crazy things
Yeah,
out there.
I need to set those filters up for my YouTube for sure. Cause yeah, it was really weird. What before I was 18, like from 14 to 17, I was like, do these people not know I am underage? Like, y'all are gonna get in trouble. You better chill out. So,
Yeah, guys, gals out there, please don't be weird and uh,
for the love
uh
of God, don't be weird.
there's too much weird stuff out there. We don't need like professional wrestling should be our creative, our fun outlet. It shouldn't be
Yes,
this weird place. And I understand why it's so hard sometimes to message people and like like you said, as a booker, you're trying to message people, and a lot of people
yeah,
don't read their messages. Just like I try to set up podcasts and stuff, and you look and it says, sent, and it's not read because of all
yeah,
the weird people out there sending messages. Like,
Yeah. I mean, if that happens, then I'll see him in person. I'll talk to him in person and be like, "Yo, you want to come and be on our show on this date? Blah blah blah. Do it in person if I have to."
That's the way. Yeah, that's the way business is done in person. I agree
Yep.
100%. Well,
Absolutely.
Morgan Dash, you definitely made an impression on us on our first night. Man, I'm so glad that we got to see you in person, and I know you're going to do some big things coming in the future. I believe you have a show this weekend as well, too.
This Friday, Spring Break Showdown for Firestar at Providence Grove High School and Climax. I'm wrestling Draken for the Southeastern title because he won the Gate City Battle Royal. So got that match coming up. That's gonna be a banger.
Okay, let me ask you because I saw the battle royal and I saw Draken out there, and I even commented while he was out there. He was working smarter, not harder. He was letting all the other guys, get beat
Yeah.
up, and then he's a man of opportunity, right? Like why get beat up if you don't have to? Let the other guys do the work. So knowing that you're going into a match with an opportunist like Draken, what is your strategy?
I don't think being amazing is enough to beat Assassin Style. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, that match is certainly going to be a banger. That's in, you said, is it North Carolina this week?
Yes, North Carolina.
Okay.
Climax, Providence
Okay.
Grove High School.
Okay, cool. So there is, just because you're not in Philly this weekend with all the crazy mania stuff in New Jersey, doesn't mean you can't see awesome wrestling in North Carolina this weekend as well, too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, Morgan Dash, is there anything else that you would like to touch on that maybe I haven't asked you about?
Um, Not off the top of my head. I can't really think of anything.
Okay, well, we know you got the show coming up this Friday. Any other cool stuff? Any stuff on the YouTube that you want to promote? The Instagram? What's going on? What should we be on the lookout for?
Um, I do post blogs as much as I can for these shows and stuff, so I plan on trying to release one for this weekend, the seventh episode of season two. I plan on releasing that one. Um, yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. Well, where can people follow you on the Instagram and the YouTube?
So for Instagram, my Instagram is Morgan underscore dash underscore oh 05. My Twitter is Morgan underscore dash 2005. And YouTube is Morgan dash YT.
Well, there you guys go. Well, Morgan, thank you for taking time out of your evening tonight to join me here on Toned In Entertainment.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me.
No, for sure. Hopefully, you'll be out of the North Carolina area, not leaving the North Carolina area, but I'm saying venturing down maybe to Florida and doing some cool stuff down here so we can catch
Yeah.
up again in person and watch some of your matches in person. Because, man, let me tell you, like I said before, match of the night, man, it was awesome. It was great, and we became big fans from that night on.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. If you enjoy interviews like this with the star assassin, Morgan Dash, guys, make sure you're following him on all his social media platforms. And if you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.